Welcome, Maurice. Thank you for coming to talk to us again. So we're going to talk about the preparation and execution training. So it's a lot more difficult than foundation. I'm about to take my preparation or execution. What advice would you give me?
So the first part of the advice is the same as with the foundation. Do the pre-reading. Now, instead of one volume of material, there are 7 volumes that need to be read. From number 2, which is the effective frameworks, 3, which is project identification and screening, 4, which is appraisal. Now, for the preparation exam, then you read up to about page 100 for chapter, or rather volume 5, which is structuring and drafting. And then that completes the reading for the preparation. For the execution, you read the whole of volume or chapter 5. And then you carry on with chapter 6, which is tendering and awarding. And then chapters 7 and 8, which are contract management in the construction and then in the operations phase. So there are basically 4 volumes to cover in each of the preparation and execution. That's the first thing. So read it. Secondly, again, look at the material that's been made available by Training Bytesize and by APMG, because if you do that in advance of the course, we can bring that into the course and discuss it.
Okay, that's good. So I'm in the classroom now. What would I expect from the tutor, and what's the expectation of the work I do once I've completed the classroom training in the day?
Yeah. So the evenings are really or should be devoted to revising, preparing for the next day. There'll be the material that the trainer has asked you to cover, so maybe for the next day, and then the revision, which is aiming for the end of the week, which will be your own revision. So I think it's important to make sure you set aside plenty of time in the evening, if not the whole evening, to do that revision or reading, whatever it is. Typically, I might ask somebody to read a particular chapter or 2 chapters during an evening, which is a lot of material, and then to draw out 4 or 5 key points that we will have worked on, and then we will look at again the following day.
Okay, that's really important. So I've got to the end of my classroom. It's been a good experience, but now I'm faced with this exam. Tell me about the preparation exam papers.
So the preparation and execution papers are different from the foundation level, fundamentally different, insofar as there's a scenario, and you have to read the scenario first of all. So the scenario might be to do with a roadway or a building, and it takes you through the typical issues associated with that type of PPP. The questions are arranged either such that they're covering the scenario, or they are simply referring directly back to the original chapter, the original volumes.
Okay.
Now, the actual questions themselves will be preceded with a little piece that says from the scenario or using the scenario.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say that, then the question is referring back to the volume itself. So it's a standard answer. If you're using the scenario, it means that under different circumstances, we might be looking for a different answer. So you need to read the scenario very carefully and then answer the question in line with the scenario.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, I look at the paper. What could be difficult? It's only 4 questions.
So you have 2.5 hours to answer 4 questions. So let's just take, first of all, the preparation paper. Question 1 is effectively around the framework, and that's volume 2. Question 2 is volume 3, which is project identification and screening. Question 3 is volume 4, appraisal, and then question 4 is around structuring and drafting. So it is very clear which part of the curriculum you're covering in each question. However, each question is made up of 20 multiple choice questions. Okay. So there are 80 questions in total. You need to pass 40 is a pass mark, actually. So the 4 questions are actually made up of 20 sub-questions, multiple choice questions, working through the curriculum. And you have 2.5 hours in which to answer the paper. So if you imagine that you had half an hour per question, you'd have to do 20 questions or multiple choice questions in each half an hour. That would leave you half an hour to read the scenario.
Okay.
Now, that's just broadly looking at it. It won't take you half an hour to read the scenario. It might take you 5 minutes, but that's just showing you how you could think about this.
Yes.
I think that it's important to recognise that as you're going through the paper, just like the foundation, the questions are not arranged from easy to difficult. They are mixed up. So again, you might want to think about how you are answering the paper and the order of them.
So read all. What we saying? Should read all the questions.
Well, yeah, I think it's worthwhile certainly reading through question 1 and then question 2 afterwards, and so on, and then looking at the multiple choice within that scenario. There are different kinds of multiple choice questions. Those different types will be covered off in the training course.
Yes.
And some people have a preference for certain types of multiple choice, and my view would be that if you have a preference to answer certain multiple choice questions, answer those first.
Yes.
And so on. So
okay. And if I was to say, well, if we allowed 2 hours, so for half an hour for each question, then an amount of time at the end to wrap it all up, would that is that
yes. I mean, the issue is whether or not, of course, you're one of those people that likes to complete your answers on the exam paper. Because if you do, you've got to transfer all those answers over to the answer paper and give yourself sufficient time. Now, for example, on one training course that I was responsible for, I was talking to a candidate after the exam, and he told me that it took him half an hour to move all of the multiple choice answers from his question paper to the answer paper. And I said, well, why did it take so long? And he said, well, first of all, there were 80 multiple choice questions. Secondly, as he was going through, he had to make sure that he aligned them properly. So he was putting the right answers against the right questions.
Okay.
And thirdly, he started to revisit some of the questions. And he realized that was a bad mistake. It would have been much better just to have put in the initial answers, because he started rubbing out the questions he'd originally got. And I think he got a little bit lost in what he was doing. Yeah. So I think you need to be very careful about how you do that if that's the way you want to work.
Okay. So I want my result straight away and I can't have it. So just tell me the process once I finish my paper.
Yeah. So unlike the foundation paper where you might get an indicative response maybe within 2 or 3 hours, depending on whether the acetate is available or not. With the preparation and execution papers, there is no acetate. All the papers have to be sent to APMG's marking centres, and it depends where you are in the world in relation to a marking centre. But I think it takes about 2 weeks for results to come through. I think it's important to note that at the end of the exam, all of the exam papers have to be returned, and each candidate will be given a plastic bag. And they'll have to put their exam answer sheet in the plastic bag and seal it.
Okay.
And all of that has to be returned. If any material is not returned, that can cause APMG to refuse to mark any of the papers.
Also, could avoid the whole exam.
Oh, okay. So it is important to get all of the papers back, all the question papers, all the answer papers, obviously, and any other material.
Okay.
Just one other thing.
Yep.
You might think, when you do the preparation and execution papers, they're open book, this is good. But actually, the opportunity to actually use and take advantage of the open book in that period of 2.5 hours is probably quite slight. But I do recommend that if you are going to use open book, that you use an electronic media, because it'll be a lot faster doing the search for whatever item it is that you're looking up. So let's say you were doing it manually with hard copy. You might be able to get 1, maybe 2, that would be it, maybe none at all, but particularly with the panic of the exam. But if you're doing it electronically and you simply put the search in, you might actually be able to look up maybe even 3 or 4 questions.
It's a good tip.
Yeah, but don't expect to look up all the answers.
Well, one more thing, I was quite surprised when you told me there's some really quite experienced PPP professionals that have failed the exam. So talk me a little bit about some lessons from that.
Yeah. To be honest, it's really great when you get people coming in the room and you have a really good discussion.
Yep.
When they've got that PPP experience, that it's really great when people come into the room with PPP experience. The problem and the question, though, is how does that relate to the APMG material? So APMG have produced a course and a certification which has global spread coverage. The problem is, most of our experience as PPP practitioners comes from maybe one jurisdiction. And the way we do PPP in that jurisdiction might be fantastic for that jurisdiction, but it would be different somewhere else. So your experience in a particular province or in a country may not be exactly in the way that APMG are seeking to get answers for that global
So put my
exam.
knowledge to one side.
Put it to one side.
Bring it into the class and debate it, but effectively learn the APMG syllabus.
Learn the APMG solution. We will. I think it's important, actually, as you just said, bring that learning and understanding to the tutor, so that you can discuss these issues, so that the tutor can say, yes, that's great. And by the way, if you want to see how that's done for the purpose of the exam, you need to look at pages whatever. Suspend judgment.
All right, Maurice, thank you very much
That's
for
okay.
this time.